Welcome to episode 188 of the AHRC Marathon Training Vlog. MK here, and it's Monday, October 23rd. And it's raining! When did it decide to rain in my California? This morning we had recovery plus speed. But before I get into that, please like this video, help out the algorithm, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Help out our channel. Let's jump in on past MK and see how that run went this morning with the rest of the AHRC. You hear the splits from the first 2 miles. Okay, that's the 3rd mile in 8:57. Okay, here are the splits for the 4th and the 5th mile. All right, that's mile 6 at 8:58. Okay, that's gonna take us to the end of this 7-mile recovery run with 5 hill sprints. Got to enjoy some time with our friends, Father Daniel and Anita. Here are the totals for this morning's run. My friend Joe asked a really good question about pushing through when it gets tough in a race. Before I answer that question, let's get some food into these kids' bellies and get them off to school. And I'll see you on the second run. All right, see you in a bit. All right, was able to get the kids some banana and blueberry oatmeal, along with the side of breakfast fried rice, scrambled eggs, sausage, and mixed greens. It's pretty yummy. Dropped Evan off at school and out for run number 2. So we could talk about Joe's question about how to break through that feeling during a race when you just don't feel like being uncomfortable anymore. How do we battle through that mental barrier? Joe's main issue is that he has regrets after he finishes a race. His feelings of regret seem to mostly come from not giving his total all during the race. Like, he had a lot left to give as far as effort, but he feels like the discomfort made him feel like he didn't want to be uncomfortable anymore, and he wouldn't push as hard as he thought that he could. He compared himself to his wife, who can race at a relatively higher heart rate than he can. Joe asked if there are more mental strategies or tips that I could share with him rather than things on the physical side. But Joe, I want to break it down into 2 things. It's hard to separate the physical and the mental, especially in running. It kind of goes together. Second, you mentioned that you don't feel like you're being negative, but just the fact that you do not want to feel discomfort anymore is a negative statement. So try to focus a little bit more of the mental aspect by being positive or avoiding negative thoughts or sentences in our mind. There are different strategies that we can use to maintain a positive attitude or even a neutral attitude or thought process. It is the negative thoughts or the negative sentences that we want to avoid. Here are a couple tips from Denny and past MK. When we talked about how to stay positive during a race, or a tough workout. Let's take a look. Hey Denny, what do you do when you're in a race or you're in a tough workout and you're kind of falling into the abyss, and when the negative thoughts start to seep in, what do you do to climb out of it?
I try to get into good rhythm as far as breathing goes. I think that helps a lot. You know, if you can get that going, then you feel like you're under control more. Sometimes you get out of balance and you can just start feeling bad for no reason, just because you didn't get into a good rhythm as far as, you know, in and out on your steps and everything.
I think focusing in on or honing in on a particular aspect keeps your mind busy so that you don't think about any negative sentences. You don't make any negative sentences in your mind. And also, if it's something positive, like the way that Denny uses breathing, it really can help bring down your heart rate and calm things down in your physical system as well. A method that Evan and I like to use is breaking down the remaining workout or race using simple math and constantly doing it. When I'm working really hard, it's hard for me to do calculations, and I all of a sudden can't think. But I try to calm myself down a little bit. And if I have 6 miles to go in a marathon, I'll break it down into 2, 2, and 2 miles. Easy math. And then I break the first 2 miles down into something that I feel like I can handle. And I know that I'm very used to doing 2-minute or 1-minute fartlek intervals. So if I'm feeling okay enough, I'll tell myself to get through this next 2 minutes. And then I know that I'll only have about 4 more minutes to go until I hit the mile marker. Just then, I made about 3 sentences. And those were 3 sentences, and none of them were negative. I was able to avoid any kind of negative thinking just by doing this simple math in my head. And then after I get to that 2-minute mark, I say, oh, just another 2 minutes, and I'm pretty much done with this mile. And then sometimes, if I'm lucky, I don't even realize that it's gone by and the first mile's done. And then I tell myself that that mile wasn't that bad, and I can do another one and cut it down to 4 miles remaining. All of these sentences are non-negative and helps me to continue on. For me, the key is to keep my mind busy, to keep thinking and keep making sentences in my mind, real, whole sentences in my mind that are clearly non-negative. And I keep breaking it down. I keep breaking down the remaining distances using time and distance to keep my sentences all neutral or positive. A lot of our youth athletes have trouble staying positive during hard workouts and races. I can't blame them. I mean, they're doing something very strenuous, running, and it's really difficult to stay positive. But it's even harder for our young runners to stay positive if they don't practice it in environments where they are supposed to be comfortable. For example, when you're with your family or you're at school. And for our older athletes, when we're at work, having a positive mental attitude outside of running will help a whole lot when you're under duress during a run or a race. And you need to find the right zone. Another way to keep our mental state as positive as possible, but involves some physical action, is smiling. I talked about this in a previous vlog episode. This is what I said. Coach Alex and I had a pretty interesting discussion this morning about how to overcome rough patches while we're running. Sometimes we see the East Africans running like super fast, then they'll just put on the smile. It's definitely not because it's easy, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to trigger their brain to believe that everything's okay. When we're happy, we think that we're happy, and our brain processes that and makes a sentence that we're happy. But the emotions and the feelings of happiness do not come until after we make the physical action of smiling. And then the hormones, the endorphins, they are released. So if you're having a rough patch and you're running, instead of grimacing and groaning, which will actually take more energy, try to smile. See if it works. I bet you it will. MK with a mustache. Looks kind of weird. Yikes. I'll make a separate playlist about how to stay mentally tough, including this video and the other two that I referred to in the clips. For a while, Joe, I was kind of in a rut where I couldn't finish 5K races strong. I couldn't finish 10K time trials strong. And I was just stuck in a place where I couldn't hold out at race pace at either of those two distances. Even when I employed these mental tips that I've been talking about, it didn't allow me to break through. What I really needed was to spend a little more time at steady state pace than usual, and a little bit more time at marathon pace than usual. And I increased my time at tempo effort as well as my time at VO2 max effort. So after that, at my VDOT calculated 5K and 10K race paces, I was actually able to finish and get to the finish line at those paces. And then after I employed my tips on how to break through mental barriers, I was able to shave off seconds here and there. I'm a bit of a one-trick pony because I came from an ultra background. I'm much better at the slower speeds and longer distances. I can hold out at aerobic threshold for an extremely long period of time. And because of that, my marathon pace is actually quite high compared to my speed at threshold or VO2 max. So my marathon record is much faster, relatively speaking, than my 10K record or my 5K record. But this gap that I have created myself from being a specialist has been bridged by spending more time at the different skills and running more often at VO2 max and threshold. I've diversified my running to the point now where my VDOT calculated paces are becoming more accurate based on my marathon record. It's hard to say what kind of situation you are particularly in, Joe, or anybody else, but the thoughts and feelings that you shared with me really resonated. I really empathized with those thoughts and feelings. And my own experience has shown me that maybe I wasn't as fast as I thought I was. And just because I'm strong at one skill area doesn't mean that I'm strong in all the other ones equally. So Joe, if you don't like your 5K performance, then spend more time doing VO2 max intervals and track sessions. And if you don't like your 10K performance, is spend more time at tempo and try to fill out 10% of your weekly volume at tempo effort. And then if you don't like your half marathon performance, then spend more time devoted to VO2 max, tempo, and long runs. I really hope this helps, Joe. I love when you ask me questions because they're so appropriate for the vlog, and I feel like a lot of our viewers benefit from your question and my answer and our dialogue. Thanks, Joe, for helping all of us improve our own lives. I hope you have a great day and a meaningful run. See you in the next one. All right, bye now.